Okay, now it's good, right? You should be able to see my screens. If not, just let me know. Okay, let's do a quick review. In last lesson, we learned quite a few uh, different operators in the where clause. The greater than, less than, and so on. Not equal, between, the and, like, and also in a list. And you can combine the different conditions, multiple conditions in the where clause. Okay, the live transformation. Okay, okay, that's fine. Okay, so my request for transcription is enabled. Hopefully you can see it. Oh, it's on my screen. Yeah, it's okay. I wonder if I can hide that. It's okay. Never mind. You see, you can use and, you can use or, you can use not to combine multiple conditions. And I left a few questions for you to think about. The first one is come up with a SQL statement to select all the products of price between $10 and $50. The second one is to have a SQL statement to select all records of a city. With city names start with BE from the customers table. And the last one is to select all entries from the customers table where country is USA and city is Portland. Oh, or Seattle, right? Must be Portland or Seattle. Let's see. Let's look at the answers. See, my answer is not correct, the last one, because I forgot that the city, you need a parenthesis, city equal to Portland or city equal to Seattle. Okay. Otherwise, the first one, select star from products table where price between 10 and 50. The second one, select everything from the customers table where the city start with BE. Oh, actually, since it's normally case insensitive, so I put up uppercase B should return the same result, you know, if we put a B and a lowercase e. Okay, that's for last lesson. Today we are going to, because I think at the end of the last lesson, uh, some students request the installation instruction, how to install MySQL Server on your own machine. And let's try that and see if we can learn how to do it, okay? Um, One student asked for if it's possible to install MySQL on Linux, and normally Linux is a Linux server. Um, most PC personal computer on Windows or Mac. Mac is similar to Linux, but it's not. So uh, for Linux, there are just couple steps actually. You download the MySQL software. If you click the download, and you go to the yum repository, and then just find the latest version, just download it. Okay, then you download just this file called MySQL 80 community release EL 8-4 no architecture RPM. It's just an installation. The community means it's a free. Um, um, Otherwise, you have to pay for it. For the community, it's a free version. Okay, just click download it, then you get the RPM file. After you got the RPM file saved on your computer, you just type a command sudo yum install and the package name. And after that, then another command is to install the server because this package has multiple things. In addition to server, it has other components. If you're only interested in the server, just install the server. After the install, then you use a command called, oh, I think it need a sudo in front, right? Sudo system control ctl start MySQL D, that means MySQL daemon or is a server. And then you can use status to check if it's running or not. Also, you can use stop to stop the service or the daemon, okay, on Linux. Since most of us are using Windows, I'm not going to try the Linux, and maybe we should try on the Windows. So, and the following on the Windows is like many steps, and looks like more complicated than the Linux install, but it's okay. A lot of words, a lot of reading, but when you click on the interface, it's not that bad. I think Kevin just joined, right?
Hi, sorry for coming in late.
No problem. Kevin, you asked for the MySQL installation on Linux, right?
No, for I'm
Oh,
not
no,
sure, but I'm assuming that I asked for the installation on Windows. If I
ah,
did.
okay, that's good. I saw someone ask, I forgot name. Okay, and we just did a quick, a walk on the installation on Linux, but we are not going to try that. Um, so on Windows, oh, here's a link. If you want to see the W3, this again, our W3 friend has a handy page. Uh, if you go from previous, actually is here. If you go back, you go to next, then you jump here. So you kind of lose that. I think this W3 school hide that installation page, but it's okay. And we have a link here. So they say MySQL installation on Windows. Um, first step is to download it. This is the official MySQL download site. You download the installer. You're not downloading the software itself. It's download a small installer, and the installer can just download on the fly. However, if you have good internet connection, you can just download this web-based installer, very small, 2.5. It's an installer. When you run the installer will download the things as needed, download the different components as needed. Otherwise, that means, okay, Kevin, you got a question? Go ahead.
Yeah. Do you need to install MySQL or could you just use the try editor?
The editor, I think if you want to create the database and tables on your local machine, you do have to install the server.
All right. Thank
Okay.
you.
Yeah. Two options here. Again, either one I think should work. We all have pretty decent networks. So I sometimes like the full download, the second one. The second one said if you don't have a good internet connection, you probably want to just download the whole thing on your machine. I think the concern is that if you download the smaller one, just the small installer, and then when you need a component installer try to download, it may break, or may take too long, and or may time out. So that causes some kind of interruption to the installation. So yeah, so either one, you download the installer, and the next step, of course, is to install. And it lists like quite a few things. You probably want to read them while you actually run it. But you can, read them once and then start to run the installer and then follow the instructions here closely. And so pick the right parameters or right checkboxes to check. But we're going to try that today actually. Um, okay. I I'm using Mac. I need to switch to. Let me actually save this screen. Yeah, save screen to another window, to another browser, so I can follow that thing. Um, and you may want to, yeah, open up this page or open up our website. You click the installation, click that on your browser, so you can follow the steps and watch me doing it on my machine. Okay. But anyway, let me switch to I have a window machine here, connect remote desktop. So I have downloaded um, that package. Why don't well, the download will take a few minutes, so I wouldn't re-download it. But if you download, normally it's download and save into the download folder. If you open up your file explorer, you see a little installer file here, right? And here you just double click on. I hope it works. You just run it. I run it once. Hope it won't complain, but it's already installed. Okay, so it's okay. So now if you have a browser open that install MySQL instructions, the first one says step one says choosing a setup type. Okay, choosing a setup type. Which type you want to set up. You can try all of them. You can look at them. Developer default. If you're a developer, you need the server, you need the shell. Let's see. High availability router daemon. This one, I'm not sure you really need it. And this one, unless you're an advanced developer, you probably don't need it either. MySQL for Visual Studio. Mm, yeah, maybe. You probably don't need it. Or if you want, unless you want to connect from Java, C, or .NET to the server, you don't need that either. And some examples, tutorials, you may want that. Documentation, yeah, you can find anywhere. So, well, to me, I thought probably you only need the server, or maybe the shell. Yeah. So for the developer, it will almost install everything, and you don't have a choice. Or you can just say, just install the server. Don't bother with other stuff. That's a good one. Or you can just install the client, the shell, the one but the server. Or you can choose a full. Full is also everything, but I don't actually see the big difference between full and the developer default. And for this one, you don't have any choice. You click full, it will install all the things listed there. And actually, to me, I pick a custom. Custom means I'm going to pick the one I want to install. So if you pick custom, you click next. So it lists available thing on the left, and you can just like try to pick the one you want. Let me see. Servers. I want to install, and on the servers you have multiple versions. If you want the latest, you can expand the .a. Sometimes you need an older version because I guess when I see there's a requirement on the older version. But normally we pick the new one and new branch, new version, latest version. That's that one, and then the green arrow, they became green when you select one. You just click that. So now it's picked. I say, okay, I want that server, that version, and minimize that. Go ahead, Kevin.
I'm sorry for asking so many questions,
No
but can
problem.
I, okay, can I leave the meet and join back again? It's being glitchy.
Okay, yep. Go
Thank
ahead.
you.
Yep. Okay, we got continue. Then we pick the server and let's see what else we want to pick. Documentation and it's not bother connections. No, we are not using any specific language there, so skip that. Applications, a workbench, a Visual Studio, Shell. Shell is kind of environment. Okay, so let's pick the shell that match this version. The shell is just like the on the Windows like a little DOS Windows thingy. From there you can type the commands or the you know SQL command. So we pick that thing and then put there. Now see the left arrow is that you can just like add on them. You can click that and put them back so you don't install anything. But for now, let's see. We pick the server, we pick the shell. Okay. And let's see, enable the select feature page, customer product feature, enable the select feature page. Okay, all right, okay. All right, let's continue here. And let me check if anyone missed the class. No, good. Oh, move back to the screen here. You all can see my screen, right? Select features. Oh, yeah, the details server, including a client program and developer components, documentation. As I said, I don't want the documentation. Something happened. Okay, no, that's okay. Developer components, what is that? That main. Okay, that's fine. Developer component, no. We just want the server and the client and then the shell. Okay. Let's continue here. So now it says ready to install the server and ready to install the shell. That's which step is I think now is on the step installation. That's step 3. Okay, step 3. We just click execute. Okay, camera is back. Good. So now it's installing the server. I just click the execute. Just pick the server and then start to execute. And now it's installing the shell. Cameron, if you missed a few minutes, then later on just catch up by watching the recording, okay?
All right.
So it take a few minutes. That's the installation step, and then again that's step 3. My machine is, I don't see it's a Windows Server, so it's a little bit different from the PCs, but I hope the installation is the same. Okay, if you run into any issue, just let me know. But I think it should be the same. Let's give it another. Let me show the details. Oh yeah, they show details. They show the steps. Show the progress. I think. Let me scroll down a little bit. Drag down. Okay, it's copy files. It does a lot of things. Oh, now it's getting faster. Yeah, while we are watching and waiting, and I like to let you know that the we won't have next. We will travel from mid next week till August 5th. So um, we won't at least won't have um, the next lessons. After I come back, I will try to find a time, couple times actually to make up. Um, of course, if we cannot find a time that's good for everyone, then we may just cancel those two lessons, and then I will ask the school to refund you for the missed lessons. Okay, I will send emails later, and it's good actually. While we cancel the following two, not canceled or yeah, we won't have the following two lessons. Then maybe you can play with the installation and practice with some SQL statements. Okay. Okay. Now the installation is done, both the server and the little shell component. And the next thing is click on next. And then that step 4 now is called a product configuration. And on that page, it's ready to configure the product. So it says ready to config. You just click on next. And then is the type networking. So the config type is said just development computer. It's not for production. So not for other thing. It's just for personal development use. So just pick that type. So there's a server comment dedicated. That's all. That's different. Not not the right uh, option. So just leave the development computer here, and connectivity TCP port 3306, and the protocol port. They just you don't worry about those. Just leave everything, you know, leave all the default as is. Okay, so don't change anything. Just click next. And authentication method says use a strong password encryption for authentication is recommended. Then just stick with this. So since it's recommended, just choose that one. Click on next. This is the only thing we need to enter. So you just pick a root password. This root means you install this MySQL. You need a super user to access to add more users, and so on. So for here, you can pick a password. I don't know what I'm going to pick. I think I have a candidate. Um, Let me find that password. And you can use any, when you do the install, you can pick any password. Um, but for me, I want to pick one I like. Come on, I will find my password. That thing. Okay, where's my password? Spine up. Okay, I got it. I got a password in my mind. Um, since it's a password you pick, so yeah, you just as long as you remember it and write it down somewhere, then that's fine. So I pick a password. I say click on next. That's fine. Um, then that's a step 7 now. The step 7 says run the thing as a Windows service. That's fine. Start the MySQL Server as system. Well, you can leave this option, or I uncheck it because I do not want to run this if I don't need it, right? If you check this, it means every time you start your computer, let's say you power on, power off, power on your computer, then it'll run the MySQL server automatically, or run the MySQL software automatically in the background, even though you are not using it, will take some memory and CPU from your PC. So we'll probably want to say, hey, I will start the server if I need it. If I don't start it, then you don't start it by yourself. So you can uncheck that thing and use the standard system account. That's fine. And then click next. Now, this is step 8 now, apply configuration. Um, it will, right. Remember in the previous steps, we, you know, check this, check that, pick the root password. Now it's ready to save that information to computer. So on this step, you don't change anything, you just say, do it, execute. Now see it's doing check, check, check. It's doing the different steps, save the configurations, and so on. Now it's starting the server as a service. I apply the security settings and update the start menu link. Now it's done, right? Now it's done. Just click on finish. It says the server complete. So far we just did the server. We haven't done the shell yet. So let's click next. Installation complete. Installation process has been completed. Copy log to clipboard. No, you don't have to do that. It says start the shell after setup. Fine. Now click finish. The shell is just a little DOS window, specifically, created for accessing MySQL Server. And here, when you have this session, it says MySQL shell. You can type help or backslash question mark or quit to exit. You can just type back question mark if you want to know, hey, what commands I have. So you can scroll up and down and list all the field commands. You can connect to a MySQL server if you know a server somewhere um, other than the local, or you can disconnect from the server. You can exit from this shell. You can type a history and switch to Python processing mode. Probably don't need. Or you quit can also exit the shell. Show given report provide option arguments. Yeah. Oh, and the SQL executes SQL statements or switches SQL processing mode when no statement is given. Print information about the current global session. Sets the active schema, and yeah, so you need to play with the different commands options. The following modules objects are ready for you to use. This is just information only. This is not small server using classic MySQL. Okay, yeah. So this is just the components, just objects loaded. So they are not commands. Oh, here's some example commands. Connect. Just type a connect. Or SQL syntax, since the main SQL helper category, and so on. But anyway, so yeah. So at this point, the server is running. We have this session, and we're ready to use. Okay. And let's go back to here. So we have done all those steps, and now let's create a database. To create a database, well, before you create tables, you need to create database. The database is above the tables. So the syntax actually is pretty simple. Create a database. Those are required. They are they are required keywords, and this database name is a name you pick. Any name. I don't think you can have special characters. Just pick something like just by letters. For example, create a database called a testDB, or you can call it hey, my first DB, my MySQL, MySQL DB1, um, or MySQL DB for fun, something like that. So you can just pick any name, okay? And syntax is that, right? I pick a test DB. Now let's go back to that screen, see if we can create a DB. To go to the SQL mode, I think that type \SQL, switching to SQL mode. Good. Just type create database. Say the test DB. Even though it's uppercase, probably doesn't matter. You do need a semicolon. That's part of the syntax. You do need a semicolon because this is a SQL statement. And here return. Not connected. Fine. All right. Let's say show status. Oh, we are still in the shell, not connected, so we need to connect. SQL Server to my server. URI. Let's try one more time. I hope. Oh, have we logged in? Okay. Create a classical session to that. Please provide that. No, is using my name? No. Let's try one more time. Connect. We don't need the port. We just say root. Remember we have the root password. Just use that. Root at localhost. Localhost means a server you installed on your machine, not a remote machine. Okay. Serial C connection is that good. Now let's see status semicolon um, show databases. Okay, that's better. So I think I should include that into that installation page. Let me see if I have that. If not, I need to add that step. Yeah, I should add this step, how to connect to the database. Okay. Yeah, that's missing from here. So you do in the shell, from the shell, you do need to run this command, connect SQL and root at localhost. So you connect to the database. Now you are inside that database. You can just say, hey, how many databases do I have already? It show that. It show that. Those four are out of the, they are default databases. Okay. Um, they are used by MySQL. They are pre-created databases. You don't change, don't touch them. Um, so to create our own database, let me make it bigger. Maybe that's enough. Just create database test db semicolon. That's it. Query. Even though yeah, treat that even we are creating a database, assume that's just a SQL statement. That's why I said it's query. Okay, it's not a query. It's adding a database. But anyway, it said one row affected. It basically added a new database information to one of those system table databases. So now if we want to say, you can use the up arrow to get the command back, show databases. Now you see our database is added, even though we said test uppercase DB, but it's listed as test DB lowercase. Okay, so we have our own database. Now, how can we add tables to our database? You just say use test DB. It means there are multiple databases. There are some from the system. There are some created by me. I just want to use my new database. So I say use testdb semicolon. It says dset default schema set to that, fetching table column names from that for auto completion. It try to, since we just use that database, it automatically try to get the table and column name information from that. But since we don't have any table yet, so it's probably didn't do anything. Um, Now we are, see here, we are under our database now. So inside our database, you want to say show tables, even though we know we don't have any tables. But still you can say show me all the tables under my database. It's an empty set, means no tables. Okay, now we are ready to create tables, right? Let's switch my screen to, we just did that. And we just want to create tables. So the syntax to create tables is create table and the table name. And after table name, you got this parameters, parentheses, and parameter 1, 2, 3 separated by comma. This looks like just a function, in programming language, like you create a function, like create table, the table like function name, and then with the multiple columns. You define the columns. And the column is just column name, and then the type. What kind of data type you want that column to be. If you want to save use customer names, you probably want to use string. Or actually, so it's called a varchar, means a variable characters. if you want to, they say this is customer ID, you probably want a integer type. Or three say, hey, when this customer join, um, a customer record is created, or when the product, the customer purchased the product, or the order was put in. If you want to save the date information, then you use a type date. Okay, different types. Here's a real example. You want to create a table called a persons. Well, persons, person can be customers, students, persons. Then you probably want a person ID, that's an integer. You want name, last name, first name, or middle name. You want varchar. And when you define the characters, this is array, and this is size. This is how long you want that, character string to be. How long, in this case, is 255 characters. First name and also address, city name. They all use that. The varchar is good because it's a variable length. It depends on how much data you put there. If you define this is like a maximum, you can put up to that maximum. If you just put a city like New Haven or Guilford, Hampden or whatever, that obviously that's not 255 characters long, right? It will just use that size. It won't like allocate empty 255 space and waste your memory or disk space. So you want to use that varchar to to store variable length characters, character strings, or character array or strings. Anyway, let's try this thing. All right, copy there as three, and then there's a command called I think there's an option called just backslash stop multiple line input when in SQL mode. Yeah. So because our create table is got multiple line, if you don't use this option, then you have to type keep type backslash backslash. Just type a backslash. Now it's multiple line option mode. Then paste in. Hopefully I can. No, this is DOS. I have to. Oh, okay, got in. Good. So create table, person, but everything. Then here return now. Here return. Query OK, zeros affected. What does that mean? Nothing happened. Let's show tables. S. Oh yeah, it's created. Even though it says zeros affected, actually it was created. So we have our table under our database. So now we have the tables. Then you can use a DESC, means describe, to describe persons, describe a table. So this statement said, okay, show me the structure of this table, persons table. Now see that the fields is also the columns, fields, the same thing. That's our columns, data types. Null means can this field be empty? Like yeah, this all yes. And the default they are all null. Null means nothing, not just empty, just nothing. And so this is our table. All right. Of course, since we have a table, then we can query the table. Remember that select from table, our persons table, select everything, and of course empty. There's no data. All right, I think it's 5:48 now. It's yeah. I think we can stop here, and next time we can maybe insert some rows into our table. Right, right. All right, so we can continue from here.
All right. Bye.
All right, and yeah, if you have any questions, you stay. Otherwise.